Cameron, thank you very much for coming along. Very kind of you. I think the best thing we can do is ask you to speak if you wish, and then you can buzz off if you also wish.
Yeah, I haven't got any sort of talk because as far as I know, nothing's really changed. But yeah, just pop along, see if there was any sort of concerns sort of raised again. I know we are looking at doing some ops down in the rural about like catapults and stuff like that. It's just obviously ideally like to have probably rough idea of possible times, because obviously if you get other people down there, someone sort of waste their time as such if it's likely to happen more 2-3 o'clock in the afternoon type thing. I've got a new colleague who's now working, not necessarily alongside me, so I'm not like one officer covering a big area now. I've got another officer who does another part of the rural, but we can kind of crew up, so it actually feels like we can get a little bit more done because you've got a double crew, we can hit areas. So I'm now more responsible for St Michael's, Tenterden, Wittersham, Newington, Rolvenden and sort of Appledore / Isle of Oxley. So I've got a small area, so I don't go out to Ham Street, Biddington, Smarden and that. So I've got a smaller area now, so it's a long way to come still, but it's a little bit bigger. I've got a smaller area, which makes it a bit easier for me to sort of cover and not be like Wittersham once in a blue moon type thing. So I can sort of have 3 shifts now and think, right, I'll spend some time down, even if it's just a loop sort of Wittersham, Isle of Oxley and do that. I mean, I was here a couple of days ago and me and my colleague were sort of going between Wittersham and sort of Tenterden because we were looking for cars and it was quite nice to drive around the rural instead of starting in St Michael's, going out to High Holden and that and coming back. So a lot smaller area, which is quite good. But no, I've not been made aware of anything in particular. I know we've had some catapulting sort of up towards Tenterden. Kids have been stopped and that, but obviously it's been proved it's doing them. Liaising with the Royal Task Force to try and get some down here. But yeah, they're obviously like everything, they've got a lot of stuff on. But yeah, generally, they don't tell me otherwise. I think everything is, touch woods, not too bad.
Are there any particular hotspots? I mean, the more urban areas, the Tentertons, the St Michael's, is there an ongoing, are there ongoing misdemeanours, if you like, sort of of a minor nature?
Yeah, I mean, in terms of, recently, I suppose, like let's say, catapulting or a bit of nuisance, it's been sort of like the old railway behind St Michael's, kind of down there. The sort of Appledore Road, you've got the industrial units, and then you've got a bit further down as a farm. There's been a couple of reports of possible off-roading, air coursing, and some signs of kids have been sort of about. But of course, where they've been seen, they kind of, the other day I was driving down the Appledore Road, coming towards this way, and on the way from Tenterden, I saw a couple of kids in the dark, literally turned around, 30 seconds later, they were gone, and they probably disappeared into a field. There was a little gap for them, and they probably disappeared into there. But it's still pockets, really. It's pockets.
Bike thefts, electric scooters?
No, there's nothing. There's obviously like e-scooters being seized every so often around the general area. I've seized a couple of vehicles recently for no insurance and stuff like that, so no tax. So it's just a case of sort of being out there, sort of catching them. And obviously, like e-scooters, now the message is out there that they are illegal, and they should, obviously you can only ride them on private land. But obviously people still buy them, still ride them. It's just catching them, sort of.
When you catch someone with no insurance, is that because you've got the means within your car to look at that number plate?
Yeah.
Get an immediate.
Yeah, basically the way it works is we either get intelligence from members of the public. I've had some recently where where a neighbour phones in and says such and such is driving, or you get wind of sort of cars. We've got cameras that ever so often just say, this vehicle might have no insurance. Obviously it's not guaranteed, and every so often it's just the coppers know to go, that looks a bit dodgy, and then you can do the relevant P&C checks, so like no insurance, you can check the driving licence. So that's what happened with a couple of vehicles. It was just saw it, notified it, did a check on it, and it was just a case of waiting for it to be on the move, and every so often it just goes, oh, there it is, and you sort of stop it, take it for no insurance, give them a ticket for it, and they get points on their licence. So that's how it's quite fairly simple, but like tax as well, obviously it's, you know, people notify us DVLA, you can check on DVLA, and if it's got no tax after so long, I can take it as well. So
I think we can check on DVLA,
yes,
can't we?
yeah, you can check. It'll tell you. There is other ways, but yeah, you can check, and it will tell you if it's got MOT or not, when it expires or when it did expire, if it's got tax, when the tax runs out, when it ran out, or if it's sold. Of course, any of that, then it's sort of going on. But obviously, I have to have a certain window before I can take it, and obviously depends on where it's parked as well. So it's like, there's so many little strings to the sort of the bow. It's just sometimes a vehicle just catches your attention, or you just think I'll have it like e-scooters, won't have insurance, so you can have that. So there's a lot goes on.
You mentioned hair coursing, so that still goes on around here?
Yeah, it goes on. I think the hair coursing is those ones like the off-roads with the lamps and then the dogs. Obviously sometimes there's out people walking their dogs, they're probably up to, but they're not quite doing the same. But of course obviously it varies from, I think it's something like about March, April, it probably starts again when the fields are starting to dry up until about now, and obviously it gets too wet. But it's always about doing bits and pieces, but it is something that goes on. It just needs sort of reporting, because I think the other day somebody messaged on the farm saying that their gates had been cut or removed, but it had happened, but no one actually seen it. They just went past and saw, and obviously suggested that somebody damaged the gates or cut the gates to get into the field. So it was used on Farm Watch, and yeah, it does work. Farm Watch as well. It's quite a good tool.
Sadly, there are not many hairs left anyway for them to course.
No, I think a lot of times it is just about going across fields, wrecking crops, and scouting places out. A lot of it is. It's not just about hair coursing. It's about other stuff, about what they can see around the land. I mean, there is that line where people just go into fields and they're driving through crops and stuff just to damage it, and then there's the ones who are out, chasing hares and stuff like that. So, but yeah, I haven't heard anything. We catapults down here. I think the last couple of calls we've had down this way in terms of patrols attending have been a sort of a domestic type thing. So not necessarily involving couples, more just kid and mum and child shouting type thing. So we are sort of aware. I think because we've got the Royal Task Force, I think people contact them and then they feed it down to me and my colleagues depending on what area the things are happening. Because obviously they've got a big area, so it's a kind of they let me know and I let them sort of know I can speak to them. But yeah, I mean overall rules. It's obviously this time of year now. It's just about being careful what people put out. Because obviously Christmas tree, people put their presents out. People see it, they put stuff in the car a day or two before Christmas, and then they travel. And of course, people are out overnight looking for cars with presents in. People don't want to. It's amazing how you'd be surprised how it happens. Yeah. And obviously, like putting rubbish out, you put what you've got out just after Christmas, and people think, oh, it might even be an old box, but people think, oh, they've got such and such. It just makes it more interesting if that kind of thing. Seems silly little things, but sometimes it's those silly little things that make the big difference. I mean, the other day, my daughter saw a message on Facebook, because I live in Ashford, Singleton area, and somebody put on Facebook, there's a couple of people going around trying car door handles. My daughter was like, oh, better go and check my car. And thankfully she did, because she left the car unlocked. But it's easy done, as you say, it's easy done, but thankfully it's, because that's what they do, they just got the opportunity to...
So the public are really your best source of
information? I mean they are, public are good, but obviously it's about reporting stuff, because I've had some incidents recently where it's been on Facebook but not called us, or they call us but 3 hours after the incident happens. And I understand why, because people are busy and they think, oh, doing something, they get home and think, oh, I'll do that now. But of course, a couple of times these things have happened. I've not been far away when it kind of happens, and you need the calls. But obviously, everyone's got their own sort of things. But yeah, that's all I can sort of
I attended a meeting a couple of weeks ago where Superintendent Steenhouse came and talked to us all.
Yes.
Very good, very useful. And one of the things he was stressing, which of course you would equally, is the extent to which we should be using the police website now, and the fact that there are ward priorities all on there that you get listed. I was very pleased when I then went and looked and I found catapults were on it because, of course, we've been talking to you about catapults for a long time. Updated every 3 months, very much stressing that people have got to be putting in their thoughts because that's the way you pick your 3 priorities. And urging everyone to be joining up to my community voice. He did say there's only 30,000 on it in Kent, which is quite disappointing for the size of the borough, whereas other counties have done much better. So that's another thing that we all need to be pushing.
Yeah, my community voice is good, and obviously now because
you put messages out.
Yeah, and because I've got a smaller area now, it's a bit easier to say, oh, I'll cover this area, and you know, it's nice to put something out just to sort of show all this officer's done this, even if it might involve something for Tenterden. At least you know it's doing it. The local voice does work, but obviously it is a tool that only works as well. We've got to keep it fresh because you don't want to keep reading and going, oh, you know, PC Laker did this. You want to see it. That's why I do it every so often because it's not flooding you with it all the time. It does work. It can be used for crime advice. It has worked occasionally where I've put a post out and then somebody's messaged me back and said, oh, thank you for what you did. Can I just also pass you on, there's this vehicle or there's this going on, so it's kind of, they don't necessarily report it, but they let me know about it. There's also times you need to report to control room, so we've got a log so that I can then go, oh, you know, I need some help, because we've got, you know, 15 calls in 2 weeks, what, can we have some help just to try and see what's going on, see whether it's just a phase or whether it's something building, but yeah, it does work, obviously, like, people got to sign up for it, they don't sign up for it, they don't sign up for it.
I think the other thing is, that adds into all of this, and you must see it yourself, Darren, is that there is a sense of negativity around about, well, you know, don't see policemen very often, we don't know what happens and this and that. And if my community voice can start to get a bit of a better buzz going, that actually they are doing some things, they are picking up scooters, they are picking up uninsured or untaxed cars. When the rural community, the rural task force used to put out a very raw report every month with about 28 pages with the pictures of all the vans they'd seized and all the rest of it, or the people with scrap on the back. That was very good simply because it showed something happened.
Yeah.
And I think the more you can do that, and I applaud the fact that you put the time into putting these messages out, the more we get people listening to them, reading them, all to the good.
And I think it was well because the Royal Task Force, because obviously they cover the whole of sort of Kent, so they can do a big spiel about what they've done, and it's really good. And of course, obviously that's where their focus is. Like for me, I sometimes will put something out, this is what I've done, but it's also saying, oh, local officer done this, but you know, your priority was this actually. And so some people would just stick it to say, right, we've got 3 priorities, and they only post about something when they've done the 3 priorities. Like with me, if I go to a call and I think actually the local residents might need to know, just be aware, like a road trader, I'll put that out just to remind people, just to say, I attended a call, just be wary of people coming and asking you about work on your roof or something like that, because people do get complacent without meaning to really, and that's what that sort of is for. It's about 2-way sort of thing, about putting news out there, good news, advice. Obviously we've got certain things we're going to put out because obviously we've got a press officer for particular things that they can write it right on what we're appealing for type thing. But yeah, it does work, and I think we're hoping down the line, so I don't know if Mr Steinhouse mentioned it about maybe trying to, because we've got so many parishes that every so often, because I don't know if you remember a few years ago we used to have the North Weald and South Weald Forum. Well, I think we used to have like the police station, people used to come from each borough if they could every 3 months or so, and we'd have just a general sit down, and I don't know if we're going to try and look at doing something like that, or whether I could say, right, once every 3-4 months we'll have a sit down from somebody from each parish and say, right, let's have a meeting at a coffee shop or something like that, and just have a meeting without a parish meeting, do it that way, which I think would be quite good as well, because you can just chew the fat kind of stuff.
Okay, any other questions for Darren?
Thank you very much.
Thank you for coming. Sounds fine, and feel free to leave us and when you wish.
What to say?
I think I'll go now. I've got to get back to Ashford.
Should buy an extra large keyring for your daughter for Christmas.
Yeah, well, I hardly see her now. I hardly see her. So she's working, so. But yeah, I'll see you again. I'll try and get down to the coffee morning again. I've got tentative this one. Yeah. I'll see you. Have a good Christmas.
Let me say one little tiny thing then. Some parishes were reporting that they never saw their officer. And he was saying, well, let me know which ones it is. Naturally, I did not report because we see you quite often.
Yeah, and I think that is the problem where, like, because I do rural, I think it's a bit easier. Where if you work in urban, of course, like you think you've got North Hillsborough, South Hillsborough, Newtown, you know, Stanhope, all Kennington. There's all these ones where, like down here, you know, some of them are a bit much easier. Where like others, it's, you know, some villages have been 2 in the same night, so it's it's. But no, that's fine.
Very good, thank you.
See you again.
Thank you.
Gregor, anything you would like to?
Nothing, Tom.
Tom?
No, thank you. I just came to wish you well and enjoy it last month. So thank you for that.
Well, thank you for the voluntary contribution you made to the village in various ways.
Yeah.
Thanks to you for
Happy to.
all you've done. And
Welcome.
as I mentioned, the Christmas tree I thought was terrific.
Still never won though.
Well, I sometimes couldn't really hope for it myself. Fine. We'll now
And
move.
congratulations for winning the Christmas Tree Festival.
Oh, yes, we spoke to it, yes.
Yeah.
Climate.
Okay, we'll now move into the main meeting. No apologies, we're all here.
But I do have apologies from Borough Councillor John
Oh,
Shilton,
yes.
who has a group meeting tonight, and
And
County Councillor Wayne Chapman can't make it either.
Thank you. We've got no declarations of interest, as far as I know. No seeking of dispensation. And just to remind everybody that the meeting is being recorded. Right, we've had the public session, so are we happy to confirm the minutes of the 11th of November meeting? Everybody's had a copy?
Yes.
You bet. Thank you. Initials? Got one. Is there some pancakes? Okay. Matters arising. Sports club lease, as far as I'm aware, and Jeremy, I think it meanders on
Meanders, yeah.
and remains within the hands of the Charity Commission to come to some kind of decision. I personally am monitoring that, as I think Jeremy probably is more directly at the sports club. Land fronting with church. Now Wayne and yourself, Wayne
And Jeremy.
and Jeremy.
Yeah, Jeremy did most of the work.
Yeah, exactly.
I sent out an email to everyone that you may not have seen.
So you provided all the historical.
Well, it was actually telling you all the things I said to Wayne. So he got the sort of soup to nuts through the whole thing.
Do you think he took it all in?
Sorry?
Do you think he took it all in?
Well, he certainly said he did. He said, I'm very happy with that, I've got to understand that. That's, what we've got to do. And made sense to him. I suggested to him, I said, I think it's probably going to need escalating among the officers because, this is not going to be a a sort of easily delegated decision. To which he said, "I'll get Simon Jones down here if I need to," which is one of the 4 corporate directors. And I did write it down.
Didn't you say he'd been before then?
Yeah, he came down to look at the drains with me once.
Oh,
He
drains,
wasn't a
right.
senior then, he was in charge of highways. He's now in charge of
Promoted.
a quarter of the KCC. And he's earning, it's on the public record, he earns between 165,000 and 170,000 a year.
I can add to that, in as much as when Wayne sent his apologies, he said, he included, "I thoroughly enjoyed Saturday's Christmas Tree Festival. This also was a great opportunity for myself to see and understand the highway stroke brick path along the church wall. I am at present approaching the KCC highways team with the possibility of the brick path stroke highway to be passed over to Wittersham Parish Council."
We've got something in writing fast.
What I did say to him was that if they do give us the highway, in my understanding, they'll have to go through the formal process of a stopping up order, because it will no longer be highway. And that's a whole legal palaver which they'll suck their teeth over, but it's got to be done.
Well, he does seem to be a force for good at the moment.
Yeah.
I must say, I mean, I really talked to him on Saturday. I really had a very nice conversation.
Really interesting.
You know?
Well, we're lucky.
Yeah.
Should be our, and yes, Jeremy says he's taking a very big position at KCC.
Seems to be. I mean, we've seen things in his reports as well. He's on quite a number of Twitters.
Yeah.
He's not a portfolio holder, but on the other hand, which is obviously puts him on one particular thing, but it does mean he's overseeing various things.
Yes.
And after that, I mean, we can only imagine how politics works out and how influential he becomes. The fact he got put on the committees, I suspect, means that the powers that be within the Reform UK party were already well aware of it.
Yes.
And, or, of course, the volunteer is always worthwhile.
Anyway, that's encouraging progress that we haven't seen for some time. Caretaker scheme update. Nothing further that we haven't already discussed.
It's just worth reminding ourselves that in the changes that are anticipated, there's a negotiation, discussion, agreement, whatever, to be held with Alfred still here.
Yes, I think we're aware of
That
that.
could be somewhere else, but I'm just reminding ourselves really that we've got to do that because time will run.
And Yvonne, you were going to look into the correct procedure.
Yes,
Thank you. Trees overhanging the school playing fields.
I've actually got an answer, so I'm dealing with that now.
Terrific.
An answer from who?
Yes, Claire. The diocese.
From the tree, the information I was been chasing all this time I have now got. So I can now go ahead with the information that the diocese and Ashford have asked for. Now that I have it,
You can go ahead and do what though?
give them the information they want.
Technical detail.
I don't need to worry Michael head about the technical details.
Is the tree overhanging bit being fixed?
No.
So of course not.
Not until I have permission.
So you
Much too soon.
did threaten.
Yes.
I did threaten to go and do it myself, but
Yes.
I got me in trouble at the moment, otherwise I would have done.
So, well, I'll hold your legs. You got the ladder. So basically, it's still at status quo. In terms of the actual tree.
It's
Is
threatening
it
to
just
drop.
the one tree?
There's three.
There's three, there's a tree, sorry.
Well, you know, I mean, it isn't very satisfactory because the school drew attention to it, fearing it was going to drop on a child. Well, fortunately, it hasn't dropped on a child.
However, Alan, I suggested that because we couldn't do anything immediately, that they made sure that the no children cordoned it off, so no children were underneath it.
Good
Yeah,
move.
That
Close to-
hasn't happened.
Close to the playground, yes, it was indeed, and it was a sensible suggestion. But there it is. So, I mean, I suppose one just has to reflect for a moment how it would have made us all look at it if Grant had dropped on a child in the interim. You know, we wouldn't have had, the press wouldn't have liked it much, would they?
I think what's the good part of it is, as a model, we now know how not to go about it
Yeah.
next time.
Yes,
But
that's
it
yes.
wasn't, it didn't, It wasn't our fault.
No,
No.
no,
So we can't do
but
anything
you
about
can
it.
definitely would be blamed.
If they'd gone through the right channels,
It wouldn't have
it
happened.
would have all been done in the fortnight.
Yeah.
So next time, you've made the school aware, I think, haven't you?
I'm supposed to be doing two.
Well, get on with it.
Yes. I'm
Okay.
going to see Stella one day soon anyway, so.
Highway improvement plan meeting update. We're looking to these dates now in March, the Monday,
Yes,
Wednesday.
we've gone with the Monday.
You've gone with the Monday.
Yes, because I can't do it.
Sometime in March.
So yes, beginning of March, we've got a meeting and I've already received the team's invite, so.
Okay.
Talking about the highway improvement plan, do we leave the sign at the Swan, the old fashioned sign, to go on that? Or is it a case of we follow the tree in the churchyard and
In what way, Sally?
it needs refurbishment?
Yes, well that's one of the things that when we were talking 12, 13 years ago about the caretaker scheme, that's one of the things that the caretaker can do
Right, okay.
when he's got a spare. But yes, no.
Which sign? Which sign?
The old one, you know where the Swan is, and you've
Yeah.
got on the other side of the road, you've got one of these old fashioned signs, the direction signs.
Which says right eye, 10
Yes, it's one of the
yeah.
old ones, which it does need refurbishing.
Right.
Showing signs of catapult damage.
Is that,
Well, it's also showing signs of rust.
That's where it comes from.
Okay. The triangle wall, this, Sally raised this, did you?
yes, that's another thing that we,
That's a capital project.
no.
No. Oh,
It's
it's a
an
real-
out
project.
It's an out project, yes, it's something that he will be able to.
Sorry, did you say elf?
Ow.
Oh, sorry. I thought it was a
He is
seasonal.
that elf.
Well, I wasn't sure whether you were getting to the seasonal swing of things. It's an elf project.
Oh, yeah, yes. Yeah.
And the idea of a new road sign
That's down to me because I
is to
did ask, and she wanted the, what, 3 words thing, which I said, yes, I'll do, and then probably forgot all about it, so.
okay.
What you might note down to remind them is it's Public Health Act 1925, Section 19. It is a legal obligation on Ashford.
I'm not sure
to
that
do-
gets
to
us
do-
much
to do
further.
what?
All urban roads must have road signs with their name on, and they must be kept up and refurbished.
At Ashford's cost, or ours?
Oh, Ashford.
Public
Because
health.
they're terribly
Say
keen
again.
on sending us,
They
every
may
time we
be-
want to make a signage
There's no
improvement,
question it is the borough.
and they don't charge a consultancy fee
No,
to us.
well, they'd love to, but...
Well, no, I'm just trying to be clear about this.
No, just if you look it up. Public Health Act 1925, Section 19.
It means they've got to do it.
That's how they have to
Speak,
do our
isn't
report
it?
as well.
Mm.
Well, I'll believe that when I see it, but anyway, we must
I
try.
don't think it said they had to. Well, I think the impression is they are supposed to do it promptly. They're not just able to leave it for years and years.
Well, no, she didn't say I'm not doing anything, she just wanted, and I just
But that is the obligation.
came and went, I'm afraid. So when I was looking up to see what the result was, I thought, oh, yes.
Because that's how it came that the guy who was then Alan Bind, I think, came out from Kent. He got dragged in at one stage on the Owen Court one, but it was Ashford's obligation eventually, at least according to the citizens. He came, I don't have a name for him though. I was looking today, but someone did come.
Well, Johnny gave me the contact, so I
Oh, you've got that?
Yes,
Good.
I'm the right person, just
Name is what? Oh, it's not.
can't
there.
remember.
Okay. Swan change of use planning application. We wait to hear really, don't we?
Yes, I
Whether it's
just
coming
wanted
up
to
again.
make note that, yes, it was withdrawn before it went to committee.
Yeah.
That's what I think
It's
was
withdrawn,
needed to be in the minute.
obviously.
And it's not on this time.
It's not on the December meeting.
No.
Oh, well, that's fine, it gives us a decent break, but we will only learn definitely a week before.
Yes, today I heard that it's next Wednesday, so it's only
Okay,
a week in advance.
because I'm thinking of making a bit of a drive on next door to get more letters written. You know, it's a pathetic effort really on the village's behalf only to raise 12 with Kevin rallying his troops, you know, have 12 on the other side. So it's a matter of timing, really, whether I relate it to the upcoming return of the application, or whether I push something out now because now is as good as next month.
We should also be able to find out from Johnny, and we'll find out anyway a week before whether the officers have stuck with their recommendation to approve. But he will also be able to make inquiries as to whether they have been pushed off that recommendation by Miriam's analysis, or whether they have decided to rewrite it and push ahead. But it certainly gave him enough pause to pull it the first time.
Absolutely right.
The thing is, we don't see that report.
Until the same day as the agenda.
Surely. Okay. Item 5, planning application, Wittersham Secretary. Finally, you've gathered together enough material. You are on.
Yes. Thanks, Greg.
Thanks to Greg.
However, it is on the agenda. We have been asked as a statutory consulting.
Oh, fine.
I'm
So
okay.
you might-
Yes. It's a good idea.
Just grant it.
Yes, yes. Well done for all that work. And thanks, Greg, obviously. Right, okay. Is this what have we got? Yeah.
Yes.
This is what we need. You should have a couple of bits of paper.
Yes, everybody's got it. Everybody's got it.
Keep going.
Yeah.
That's my tea.
So what you've got in front of you is the budget, which is slightly different from what we had before. It's been updated to include revenue as well. Last time, with the things that I had from Ashford, when I'm asked to give our figure, Jeremy always comes up with the figures that we require, so I asked him again. However, within the information I had from Ashford, they had a nice little calculation in itself, so you just had to put in the amount you proposed, and it came in with, as you can see, what the Band D figure would be, and the percentage increase. So Jeremy's probably good at explaining it more, but the 39,500 equates with the budget figure that we came up with this time. So the caretaker scheme, obviously budget-wise, we're still under, but because Wittersham wants it, we're going to have to put a bit more money in. First year it may sort itself out over the year, we'll see. So instead of the 6,000, I thought we've got the 7,575, that brings it up to the 39,500, which is within the 2% that we would normally go with.
I think I've asked this before, but I'm going to ask it again.
Yes, good.
The capital projects, is that for specific projects?
It can be, we haven't. My view at the moment is that if we don't have that figure in, we cannot do anything.
Yeah.
Can't do anything.
And if we can get anywhere with this footpath that we want from the memorial garden down, we are going to need money for that.
Right, but the money that we're going to need to replace round the memorial and put the new entrance in, where's that?
That's already in reserves.
That's somewhere else?
Yes.
Right, okay. So that would be anything new or that footpath?
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
Because we haven't actually used the 5,000 from this present year. And obviously this team's meeting we're not having until March. I was hoping we'd have a figure because that's what we want to bring up with them. They said originally that they can't give us any ballpark figure until they've done their initial costing, which isn't going to be just pence. So I would like to, when we come to our reserves, to put that money aside, ready for that. Because this is something that the village has always wanted, it's not just parish council. We've got lots of people at school, everyone wants this bit of path put in. So that's the way I envisage it going.
So there's nothing particular to draw attention to really, isn't it? I mean, 2% is a good figure really in today's world. I think everybody knows inflation is above that. And if we can work within a figure of that size, I think anyone a few who pay attention to these kind of things will probably give us a notional pat on the back.
We never do. We're going up 2% on a band D. It'll actually give us more than that because our council tax base has gone up. In other words, we've got more band Ds to pay the band D rate, so we'll get about 4% out of the 2, which is nice. I did do a little look through, because I usually like to see where we are and whether we're embarrassing ourselves with the other 40 odd. And based on the current year, because obviously we don't know what other people are doing next year, but based on the current year, we're 19th out of 42 by the band D tax base numbers, in other words, the size of the village in its housing population, averaged out of band Ds. This is, one would be smallest and 42 is the biggest. So we're 19 rather, by the size number of band Ds. We're 28 by the council tax per band D, so we are more expensive than the sort of median. We're 28. We're 24 by the total council tax because we've got less band Ds. But they're not that much different, some of them. The average band D tax base is 869, we're only 545 in the current year. But while the average tax band for us is £69.17 and we're high, the average is 68.92, in other words, 20p different. And the average precept for a council in Ashford, we're at 37,700 this year. The average is 72,000. Now it is pushed up by Tenterden, Kings North, Kennington, whatever, the Great Chart. But nevertheless, there's only 4 or 5 of them out of 22, out of 42. We're fine, really. We're sort of middle order.
I think that's a good place.
And we have a caretaker. Most of those don't have.
Sure.
Could I therefore have a vote if you're happy with the 30.5, the precept?
39.
Vote now, fine.
39,500.
Yeah.
Could I have a proposal?
Can you propose that?
Jeremy?
Yeah.
Second?
Yes.
Colin, thank you.
Over the next 3 or 4 years, it is suggested there'll be a revaluation of all of that, which would be quite interesting.
They haven't actually said that, in all honesty, although it's reliant on reporting rather than what they're really thinking.
Yeah.
What they're saying at the minute is they're going to look through the SGs and Hs in order to find out which ones are above 1.5 or 2.5 million. Because in London they could be. Out here, no way.
Yeah.
Obviously your new place, but apart from that.
Oh.
I don't think they've got the manpower or the political will.
Well, one imagines so, but it's so out of date. I mean, it's just...
It's been dodged by successive governments.
Yes.
It could completely revitalise the Charles Surveying group in the country.
Yes.
But they'd have to do it. Unless we're allowed to bid for our own, self-assessment. Strange things happen.
Well, I think can of worms if they're not careful. The only idea, no matter whether you do it in 1920 money or 2020 money or anything in between, the idea was simply to put them in order and then put them in bands. And there you go. You go from 6 ninths to 18 ninths. And it doesn't matter whatever they're worth if you put them in the same bands.
Okay. So budget is approved.
Well done, everyone. Thank you.
Well done.
And the precept with it. Good work. Correspondence. Really standard stuff.
Yes, well, the names and co, for the domain name, wittersham.org, that we have already agreed to carry on with, is the cost has increased from £75.99 to £82.99, so it's an increase of £7. This is only every 2 years that we pay for that, and it takes place in February 2026, but we renewed last September, so we won't need to pay that until September 27.
So we've sort of rented it, have we? It's not an outright freehold purchase, no. Okay, that's a relatively minor expense. Public path order.
That's been confirmed
Kingsgate.
for the Kingsgate path that confirms where we've always walked.
Sure. It's good. Some bank charges increasing.
The monthly charge has gone from £6 to £7.
Okay. Not much we can do about that. CPRE membership. This was a letter asking whether we would become members, I think. Wasn't it?
Yes, as a charity we rely on membership. We are writing to highlight our work and to ask if your council might consider supporting us.
Personal views?
Yes.
Sure.
I'm certainly in favour. Yeah. So shall we do that at
Quantum
quantum?
£60.
£6. Okay. Let's do that. Approved. Caretaker's working report. Anything else that we particularly want to draw our attention to?
Nothing springs to mind, really.
The van passed its MOT.
Oh, another year.
With advice.
That's good news.
That's worth mentioning.
Indeed. Monthly transaction statements we have
You
here.
have
Yeah. Anything particular that sticks out? Big ones. Aren't any particular big ones.
no.
Application fee for cemetery planning.
Yeah, so
Wasn't it?
that's half price.
Really?
We get half price. The memorial from Cleverley and Spencer will come in again because they paid without asking how much it was and the prices had increased. It's just for additional words,
Right.
but it's £51.50, so I sent them you one and they have now since paid the extra pounds, so that will come in for next month.
Any questions, anybody?
Have we invoiced, I can't remember what you said last time, ABC and KCC for caretaker, what have we had here?
ABC we've had and KCC is due in
Okay, so we've had all of the ABC,
yes,
19
All
already.
19 pounds.
yes.
Yes.
I don't mind actually. Just looking at the budget.
Pretty full.
Yes, please.
And then
Please. Right, and that's and that one.
in full. Thank you. Thank you for that. No planning decisions received. Open spaces,
Nothing unusual.
no issues? Public rights of way apart from the diversion of the footpath?
Getting muddier and muddier.
Yes.
Tim Parker has reinstated the path across to Owley.
With a cut, does cut it.
No, it's been weaker,
Okay.
but they are getting increasingly muddy.
highways?
I think we're all aware of some of the frustrations, but I've had a number of people mention to me their frustration with road signs saying road closed going up,
Yeah.
when it's not, in the sense that in the latest instance for the small hive water works repair, leaky water repair, which is now done, the signs went up at Peace and Plenty, just outside of Rye,
Yeah.
saying the road was closed. Yeah, the road was not closed, and in fact on KCC's highways website it did actually say that it was traffic lights operating in, let's call them daylight hours, and it was closed at night time, but Colin tested it several times at night outside of daylight and it wasn't closed. It's just a massive frustration, and I just report it, because although we're all aware of it, just for the sake of it going on the record, being recorded, Wayne seems to be very much aware of it and trying to do what he can do.
Right.
I don't think there's much else we can do.
No. What I found interesting this time with that particular one, because I'm hoping it was because I made a fuss the last time they closed it for the whole stretch. South East Water came to me before I had the notice even from KCC to say that it was only going to be closed overnight and it would be traffic lights and speed restriction during the day. And a day later I had the thing from KCC saying it was closed completely. So I'm hoping that I'm getting advance.
So the KCC, someone in KCC puts out the road signs.
Yes.
Right. So they clearly in the warehouse haven't got one which says traffic lights or closed intermittently, or it's just road closed. It seems to be the only
They
sign.
can put up added information, but the problem, I think it's KCC highway, they've got a contractor, but it doesn't
Well,
really
the
matter.
KCC can pay
The key
themselves.
is well, no, the water company. The key to it all, as far as I can tell, is that technically they have had a road closure order. The road closure order may only be this little piece, but it's been closed. And that will be in the regulations. They're stupid. It doesn't fit modern times, you know, where people are going up the 2082 and no idea where they're going, rather than the villager who knows damn well what they're doing. It doesn't work, but that's what the rules will say. Then could, of course, as you've just said, put alongside the road closed another notice that says sort of, don't believe it is really open, apart from traffic lights, but they don't do
Well, the one authority that does seem to know what's going on, bus company, the school buses,
You get told.
they get told. And I'm just thinking, how do we
Spy.
How do we connect the dots?
Spy.
Spy. Next month you're on the school bus spying.
Yeah.
No, but it's just nonsensical in this day and age that there's no joined up. And I suppose technically from a legal point of view, you're right. But try telling that to people in this village. Try telling people who are trying to get to appointments. Try and tell people who are late at Ivy Court because of that.
Surely the bus company gets told, the parish council could be told.
Could be told, yeah.
That's a
Well,
jolly
even
good
was,
idea.
even was.
And then Yvonne in some magical way could then dissipate the information to anybody who wants to know it.
So next door comes in.
On next
No,
door.
but she
Next door.
does
Yeah.
try to,
Yes.
but you know, you're having to chase it all up, basically.
But they presumably tell the bus companies automatically, or they get very worked up.
It would be on it.
So if we start getting worked up, perhaps they'll do it for us as well.
Well, I made a big fuss, that's why I think I'm now getting it direct from South East Water, which I never did.
Yeah.
And I got the truth, well, nearer the truth.
Well, they're due for a major board change anyhow. He has to go in time as well. Oh, by the way, I didn't realise because they kept it very quiet, but the hosepipe ban is over.
Is it?
Yes, it was over at the end of November,
Right.
but they didn't announce it,
Announce it.
which I thought was bonkers PR. It just subtly changed because they were all dealing with the fact that 2,500 homes in Tunbridge Wells.
Is that on their website or something? Or?
If you Google South East Water hosepipe ban, you'll find it's over.
Can we put that on next door then? Then there's another person down there.
Check out first.
As the rains that come down to float Noah's Ark.
But it's not asking them that if they tell the bus companies, couldn't they tell us too?
Well, let's ask, and
Yes.
all the other Irishmen, well, I suppose it only falls within the.
Somebody must be telling the emergency services.
We think so.
Most likely.
We would hope so.
Oh, I'm thinking of South East
Yeah.
Ambulance.
It's perhaps one for Wayne again, isn't it? Because he's in there at the centre of things. Just to ask the question.
To be clear, I wasn't supporting what they do. I was frustrated as everyone else is. What I was trying to say was that's why they do it.
Well, that's
because
what-
that's the obligation.
Yeah.
They do it. Then what we're asking for is something extra. Or you know, extra costs more.
We should
Which
have
is what
asked.
they should have done.
We should have asked Darren when he was here. How does he know which roads are closed? Because I bet the Kent police get told, and the emergency services. But as Alan said, there are organisations are getting told, but we seem to not be that far along the food chain. But I think your suggestion, Alan, is a really good one.
So I've had one advantage, but when I complained last time, I got the official thing that Jeremy's just said that that's what they have to do. And when it was built, the road closed at Atkinson Plenty, which of course affects me, because I think where is it? But after I made a big fuss, they did then add access only or something. They did put another bit, so that they didn't
Yes, I
say
see.
where you could
Well,
access.
we have-
Access only for 15 miles.
Yeah, we have
Yeah.
access only
Yeah.
at the tentative end.
They had businesses that open on one occasion at decent.
Yes, business is open.
But what does
Where?
that mean in the context of,
Nothing.
you know, that particular road? Yeah, it's not joined up at all, is it?
Can I say that another thing on highways? I know we keep on about it every year, is the water down near the nursery.
That's one that, yeah.
Is it?
I think they've given up on that.
I can say that
Is she
it's
still alive?
been
It's
done so
appalling.
many times.
Is she still alive?
Who?
Your ex-patient
Yes,
at Waypost.
down by the nurseries.
Oh, she's only relatively young. Is that what you mean?
I don't know. Last time this came up a year
Yeah.
ago, you said that you knew the lady there and you were going to have a word.
No, she's got a new partner and stuff.
Well,
Yeah.
I could possibly comment on that, Minister.
Because it's down past.
The message
What happens is it's all flooding, and if the temperature drops below whatever, it's like a skid pan.
It was a week or so ago when it was
It was
really bad
really
there.
hairy.
And
Yeah.
there's a nice big pothole just before
Yes,
it now.
yes, it's breaking
Yeah.
the road up again.
Or you can report the pothole online.
Oh, but yeah, I actually I don't know the answer to your question whether she's still denying access. I don't know.
I actually said to her, I said, is she still alive?
I know you are saying, and I have no evidence. I'm sure she
She
is.
might be connected.
I'm sure she is, yes.
Well, as I
But
said last
it just hasn't been seen for a long time.
Yeah.
Oh, she waits at the bar.
Yeah, right. So when you see more than I do, then yeah.
As I said last time, if Yvonne manages to get sense into or out of the highways steward, then whatever his name is, Simon Brown, said he knows exactly where that water's coming from because he dug it all up 20 years ago and he will tell them if they ask.
Well, that's a very useful piece of information.
He knows exactly where that ditch is filling from.
Right.
And what's gone wrong with it.
Well, can we not ask Simon
Yes,
Brown then?
It's with Yvonne.
Okay. Well, right.
Okay. Cemetery and churchyard, we've covered
Well,
planning.
we haven't covered the churchyard, and I've got a problem I'm going to share with you about May.
Of course.
I'll be as brief as I can. It pertains to the water supply to the church. And I think you already know this, but back in the beginning of the year, the meter was whizzing around at the church, and instead of spending £10 a month or less, we were spending £400 a month because there was a massive leak. We got the water board out, they dug down and said it's on the customer side, you'll have to deal with it. At that point, I got an estimate from one of these firms that detects where the leak is exactly. And they said, well, yes, we can certainly do that for you, sir, and there will be £780, which basically we don't have. And then I went back into negotiation with South East Water, and they came and dug down again. And they said, no, it's definitely on the customer side, it's definitely your responsibility. So at that point, we turned the water off because we need it for christenings, we need it for washing up, and we didn't have the resource to continue to pay the bill. And then somebody else kindly reported a manhole on the road. I don't know who did report it, but there was a manhole on the road and there was water gushing out of it. And the water board came up promptly, dug it up, repaired their leak, and our meter stopped whizzing round. At which point I had a negotiation with them, and I said, look, clearly, there's somebody talking with a forked tongue, because our meter has stopped, and it clearly was your problem, not ours all along, and they nodded and accepted the fact that they were at fault. So then we got the technical expert out, and by which time our meter wasn't whizzing around, but it had started leaking again. And the technical expert came along and he said that yes, they'd repair it, and they then went away again for a while, and they didn't come back when they said they were going to. Then they came and dug up the brick path and said, we discovered a leak probably at the junction between the pipe and the branch to the kitchen and the branch to the toilet block, but it's customer side. So again, we started from square one, and the technical expert came out on the 21st of November. Roger was with me. I looked him in the eye and said, what's your plans? He says, we've made such a botch of this from the outset. We are going to now take on the responsibility of putting the whole thing right, and we're going to take it to the toilet block and take it to the kitchen, and we'll deal with it all.
That's South East Water doing that.
This is South East Water.
Good.
We have a sister company, Waterlink, and I'll send them out. I need to clear with the manager that that won't be a problem. And I said, when will you come? It will be within a week. That was the 21st of November. Nothing happened. They promised to let me know when they were coming. Yesterday, I spoke to them, and I spent half an hour on the phone with really quite an aggressive lady, but it was a totally calm conversation. I rather surprised myself, because they said they'd changed their minds and they weren't going to do it. Nothing in writing, of course. I made a mistake there, and they weren't going to do it. It was customer side. It was going to be our responsibility. I reminded them that they'd made a botch of the whole thing from the outset, and they didn't see that. So there we have it now. We're sort of faced with tracking and tracing, which would be £750 plus. And then, I don't know how they do it these days, but they have cameras, they put down water pipes, and they can avoid digging up the entire churchyard, which is what brings me to my point. It is a churchyard. And I'm sort of asking, does the parish council, it's our water, it's your churchyard, does the parish council...
Churchyard, but we maintain it.
Well, then, right, but this is underground. Is there any future in me exploring that with the parish council?
We belong to ICCM, so I will check.
Do you see what I mean? See where I'm coming from, don't you?
From the parish council,
They
it's
usually
not our
come from
responsibility. I can see where you're coming from. As far as I see it, it's not our responsibility.
Yeah.
But I am saying that I will find out.
That's excellent. And I mean, it just crossed my mind it could be possibly a shared responsibility.
I think the thing for me, wearing my parish council hat, if I didn't do that rather than any other hat, is clarification on what exactly our maintenance responsibilities are.
That's what I'm saying.
Because I, for one, don't know. I mean, to me, if it was my home, right, there would be a problem to fix, maintenance or what have you, and I can't do it, so I get someone in to do it. It might well be that you just lay a new pipe, dig a trench, lay a new pipe, and connect it up.
That's very expensive, though.
Well, you might find that someone might dig it without charging a full commercial rate. All I'm saying is, right now, as a parish council, we need to be really clear about what our responsibilities are. So, for example, if some of the tombs collapsed and there was a landslip or sinkhole, right? Whose responsibility would a sinkhole be? Because it's, frankly, if you get a whole load of water leakage, that is a potential, maybe not in clay environment, but I've heard of churchyards that have had sinkholes because of water leaks. Well, the key thing is what is our responsibility, and I think we need to ascertain that before we start saying, well, as a gesture of good faith, we'll also do X, Y, Z. We're not looking at the budget. Your question was about capital projects. You know.
I mean, there is a little bit of light at the end of the tunnel, because I had another interesting conversation today with Ecclesiastical, our insurers.
Okay.
And they're sending out an order for these underground drain people to have a look.
Okay.
And so I think to a certain extent we may be covered. there would be an excess, a considerable excess, and that's one area I was going to touch on, that it's just possible the parish council might say, well, look, as a supportive gesture, we'll pick up the excess.
No comment, I think, is the correct response to
I
that.
think it's a timeline
I think why did you get Simon Brown also just to look and to quote? Because he's doing water pipes all the time.
Yes, I have used Simon in the past, and I have found his costs very expensive.
Well, I bet they're less than South East Water if you contract.
South East Water should have been doing it for free, and of course if the insurers are doing it, Auger will be charging them a lot as well, so it may be just the excess I'm looking for.
I'd be surprised if it's an insurance claim.
Well,
Where's the damage?
the damage is that it's a water supply to a building and that it's not working.
Every year, I get a mail shot from the water people to say, do I want to pay an extra premium to cover my property to the boundary? And I never say yes.
No.
Well, the nice lady, ecclesiastical, seems to suggest I would have cover.
Okay, well that's
You
a
might
good,
have
that's a good point to start.
Yeah.
But I do think that we need to ascertain what exactly the parish council's responsibilities are.
Well, that would be quite interesting.
Yeah, and then we can, and if you explore ecclesiastical, and it's not been fixed, has it?
It hasn't, no, it hasn't.
It has to be fixed
It does have to be fixed.
because you've got a
Well, the
because you've got a
alternative
toilet block involved.
Well, the alternative is we just basically turn off the water, except on Wednesday mornings for the walkers and Sunday mornings for the church.
Well,
Otherwise, I mean, there is
and you have to lock the toilet block.
there is a slightly extra aspect to this. Of course, it's to the toilet block, which until quite recently, for probably 15 years, has been a village asset because we've voluntarily opened the toilet block for village usage until it started to be abused on a Sunday afternoon, as you will remember, when we've had to lock it since. But it has been a public facility. So it might be appropriate that the parish council does throw in its lot in some small way. I don't know.
I think we've got the message there. Are you thinking that by going to ICCCM, there's a generic thing for parish councils having responsibilities for
Well,
church?
they will tell me, no, without doubt.
Yeah, the standard across the country.
Well, whatever, but I will, yes.
Yeah.
Can I just suggest, Alan, I know we've gone down that rabbit hole of who's going to pay the bill, but what I find very surprising, insofar as you've been able to retail it, is that when they messed around with a manhole under the road, which is nothing to do with you,
Quite.
it then quenched the run through the meter.
They haven't had an
So-
explanation for that.
On the face of it, that is not your meter, whatever they may think. It's a meter somewhere in their system that you're going off of.
That was actually, I was going to come in, armed to the teeth on that one, but when they initially capitulated and said, well, pay for the whole thing, twice their technical expert said that.
That's why I thought it.
Otherwise they would have had a much harder time.
No, indeed, but now
And once they said that, I thought, well, there's no need to
But
put
now,
them on.
and I understand that, but now they've changed their mind, they've left themselves open to that same point, which is, if when you found a leak in your system under the manhole, it stopped our meter going round, it is obviously not our meter.
I made this point to the extremely strident lady on the phone at South East Water yesterday.
She didn't know anything.
She wasn't going to sing my tune, whatever I did.
No, but she wasn't the
But
option.
I am minded to try again.
What about reimbursement for the charges made to you when the water that was there?
Once we can prove that we've repaired it, Castle Water, who are somewhere in Scotland, who are the billing arm for South East Water, in theory will reimburse our excess cost once we've restored it. But of course, our treasurer felt it was best to keep good faith and kept on paying the bill, which probably was a mistake. But we will get that back. We're sure we'll get that back once we can prove that we've repaired it.
But equally, Alan,
Why
I mean,
would that
you're
pay
not
for the
wrong,
repair then?
but equally, if you prove that it wasn't a repair for you in the first place, because
Except that the meter did stop,
and it's showing you.
and then for reasons that I don't understand, it started to leak, but only slightly. I mean, the leak now is affordable.
Yeah.
The leak prior to digging up the manhole on the road was completely unaffordable.
Can I just ask where the church meter is?
It's just inside the little gate on the right.
Okay, so that would be where the meter reader.
That was the one that was going right down like that.
Yes.
You know,
Yes.
it was about 2,000 litres a minute. You know? And I
Point-
mean, it was ludicrous. The problem we had was that because PCC is generally so decrepit, nobody can actually get down to the hole to look down at the hole at the meter. And so it had been estimated for rather a long time, which is disappointing. And of course it had been whizzing around for some months before we spotted it.
Sure. A point worth having in mind, Alan, is that when we had the whole bunch of leaks popping up left, right and centre down Poplar Road, about 2 summers ago, and I used to stop and see them each time. They were faffing around, often late at night, trying to find another one and turn this off and turn that off, and often find that the stopcocks couldn't even be turned off,
Of course.
and they had to come back later and replace the stopcocks. But during that period, they more than once found that they did not have an accurate map.
Yes.
Not least because there is a mains going down both sides of Poplar Road, as I understood it, and which one you're on is a bit like the land of the gods, because one, ran out of oomph and they put another one down, and then there are places where they kind of join together, so they were having the problem of saying, I've got this leak here, so I will turn this off here, that'll be good. Oh no, it won't, because it goes round the other way. And that was going on quite a bit. Now, that's just background to the fact that they do not necessarily know. The church is 600 years old. They do not necessarily know what the hell's going on just in front of the church.
Well, I don't think they do, you're right, but I mean, they've decided to take a stand on this one, and
Don't make them right, though.
it is a difficult challenge. And I mean, I did spend such a long time on the furnace warning. I'd had enough by the end of 30 or 40 minutes,
Well, we sympathise. Anyway, that is the churchyard.
The cemetery,
Jeremy, you kindly explained the next 3 items in some detail.
Yeah, but not at the council.
No?
Let me whiz through them, because I have tidied it up since then. Calc AGM, just the key points, which is on the tape, of course. We heard from the CEO of NALC, that's the National Association of Local Councils. He told us, linked back to our earlier item, that average precept nationally for our sort of council is £92 for Band D. And we were £60, 60 something. £859 million raised in 3 years across the country, which is why the big councils look at it longingly, but actually that's between $10,000. It went up by 30% in 3 years, so again we were very modest. The government's withdrawn funding support from neighbourhood planning. We've never wanted to do a neighbourhood plan, and I don't think we will now. We heard from Vince Maple, the leader of Medway Council, he's a Labour, about the LGR. And I'll come back to that later because it got mentioned at the parish forum as well. There will be a consultation on that in the spring for all Kent residents. We'll have about 7 weeks to answer. They're hoping for a big response. Vince urged that people don't reject the principle of reorganisation. They need to engage with the options and say which one they think is best. And we know that Surrey was unanimous in wanting 3 councils, but the government said no, you can only have 2 new ones. Councillors, this is important, councillors in new councils will cover far larger areas. There will be no more than 100 in any council, whereas ABC alone has 48. So in my view, this will mean parishes take a larger hit for local matters and probably have to be a filter towards the UC's councillors, the unitary councillors, because they will have much too big an area to look over rather than just dealing with parish councils. Decision on what we get is expected by July 26, if the government keep up. So that was the Calgary then. Then there was the Ashford Parish Forum. I've already mentioned that we heard from the police superintendent. In terms of numbers, quite usefully, in the East Division, which is what we're in, he's got 700 police officers in neighbourhood policing and response, 150 CID, and not under him, they come under the chief superintendent, but there's quite a lot of policemen in East Kent. The government has said they want police back on the beat. There are now 210 beat officers across Kent, whereas before there were only 57. Every Ashford ward has a named officer, but each one, like our officer, covers several wards, less than he did, as he told us. All details on this stuff are on the Kent Police Service website. You can find quite easily by putting in your postcode, I think, probably, what the local priorities are, which we talked about. And that's where I noticed catapults are listed. And they're changed every 3 months. And it's based on what people are telling them. There's a 3-day course been put together by the College of Policing for all beat officers, and we were told all in Kent have completed it, didn't ask him. There are 100 PCSOs now in Kent, less than they used to have, but they're all on child-centred policing or the task force work. Task force really focuses on things that are bigger than just a beat officer can do. It's going to take longer, we'll need more people. The Royal Task Force is still going on, as we said, very successful. It was said by the superintendent, because I asked him, why is the Royal Task Force so successful? Is it because you let them get on with it? He said it's because they get very good intelligence from Farm Watch, and if the rest of us could give them such good intelligence, we'd get better results. He said, as an example, he said, we have loads of people telling us there are nuisance motorbikes. Do they ever tell us where the nuisance motorbike comes from? No. Whereas obviously they know. Well, in many cases they do, they know it's the neighbour. There is, of course, Crime Stoppers as a way of reporting anonymously. They urged us to sign up to My Community Voice. They're doing a big crackdown on antisocial behaviour. Incidents are now being recorded more accurately, and more specifically, they split antisocial behaviour now into personal, nuisance and environmental. If you can figure that, personal against an individual, of course, nuisance, a general nuisance, environmental damage in the environment. We heard about health and well-being in parishes from a whole load of NHS people. They talked about William Harvey Hospital and the waits in A&E. I won't go through all of them, but they have been getting worse and worse, and their monitoring has got, they go for bigger and bigger numbers until it's just unbelievable how long some people wait. Total budget, by the way, about 5 billion in Kent and Medway, about half of it spent on the hospitals. I thought we usually were told 80% was spent on hospitals, but they said half. Don't know. They're trying to align the spending more towards the community. East Kent is one of 40 pilot areas nationally being asked to look for better solutions. They want to be closer to home, and they want to be able to monitor people at home if they are being treated at home, which the NHS app might get involved in. A GP practice in Ashford, not ours obviously, I think they meant Ashford Town, now sees over 75s, aged over 75, the same day between 2 and 4. If you ring up in the morning, you get an appointment in the afternoon. But you still need to make an appointment. You need to ring to get yourself listed. And 0 to 16-year-olds, they give a walk-in in the morning. They can just turn up in the morning at a certain time and they'll be seen. So that's an improvement. We heard from the Ashford Volunteer Centre, Beth Peel, many times before. I won't worry you with that. Tracy Curley, then the Chief Executive of Ashford, talked about the local government review. £4 billion a year spent by all the councils in Kent. Interestingly, almost as much as the NHS. 1.9 million people. There are, at the minute, this is what I said earlier, or it hints at it, 658 councillors between all the principal authorities, like Ashford and Kent. That would come down to a maximum from 658 in the various versions they've put forward, of 269 if there were only 3 unitaries, they reckon, which is about 41% of what there was. 291, which is 44% if there were 4 in one pattern, or 312, 47% in the other 4 pattern. It's assumed that the government will not give any consideration to the KCC version with only 1 new council, KCC Mark II, or the 5 that Dartford and Gravesham wanted. We were told that the 3 councils pays back the quickest, 5 is the slowest, and the 2 versions of 4 are about the same. But this was never supposed to be about the cost, it was supposed to be about better services. But now it'll be, oh, which one's cheapest? 3 is. Kent will say, by the way, that 1 is. Elections for the new councillors will be in May 2027, year and a half. And they'll actually take over the new councils in May 2028. And that's a long time, but on the other hand, it's reckoned to be very, very quick. And they may very well not make it. Councils had to submit their preferences at the end of November. I did look up what ABC has supported. Interestingly, it's not on their own website, even though they had to put it in 2 weeks ago. No, a week and a half ago. It's not on their own website. It's on the Kent Leaders website, though. They supported the scheme put in by Medway, which was produced at Medway's own cost, because the others didn't support it. But actually Ashford and Canterbury then went with it. It's 4 unitaries, and it's the only one that splits up existing boroughs. Ashford stays the same boundary. Its own boundary doesn't get broken up, let's put it that way. It goes into a mid-unitary with most of Maidstone, 98 but 9% of Maidstone, the southern part of Folkestone and Hythe, and a little tiny bit of Tunbridge and Malling. Now, Canterbury and Ashford supported Medway in that. Allowing that Medway is the only Labour council in Kent, and is a unitary already, and their proposal creates a new integrated Thames corridor, which is really quite an intensive part of Kent, all the way from the London boundary at Dartford, all the way along through the Thames and the Medway, past Sittingbourne until you get nearly to Faversham. I wouldn't rule it out. The only thing is maybe the government will say, no, we only want 3. That is 4. If it was that 4, then we stay as we are and in the middle with Maidstone and a bit of Folkestone, a little bit of, I didn't say, I think maybe a little bit of Swale as well. If it's the other 4, we also stay in the middle, slightly different shuffle. If it's 3, though, we go in with East Kent. That's all.
Thank you, Jim. You'd like to continue? Thank you. Okay, date of next meeting, 13th of January 2026 at 7 o'clock. Items for information. Sally and Yvonne went to the Rambler Volunteer meeting. What came out of that?
Well, I was invited first as Sussex Rambler to the Kent Ramblers meeting, and then later that day the Parish Council was invited to the Kent's, hence I asked Sally whether she'd like to come as well. I found it quite interesting, but then I am a member of the Ramblers. I'm not sure how. I think there are interesting things as far as the Parish Council is concerned.
There were some interesting things, some very heavy things.
But the bits I sort of put down was that we heard about public rights of way that Kent Ramblers are doing. Graham Rusling, who's the KCC officer that I have dealings with before, spoke about sources of information on footpath usage and how modern technology can work, where they have sensors on stiles and they can tell how many people are going on these stiles, all that sort of thing, and they gather information as to how often these parts are used. So that was...
They also use sort of apps like Strava, which runners use. I use Strava all the time, and they gleaning information from there where people are running and walking.
And it was a decent lunch. We were there from 9:30 till 3. And we had a talk on solar farms and the proposals for the Rolling Marsh. There's a lot that they want to put down there. Apparently the farmers get £1,000 an acre as opposed to 350, which is what they get for crops. Audington PC had objected to an application which has been granted for a farm in between them in the valley. And they are now raising funds for a judicial review. We had a talk from National Rail and the work they are doing to make rail crossings safer for pedestrians, but the cost of that seems to be quite high. I don't know if anyone walks along the footpath. Once again, it is in Rye, but it goes along the Rother and goes underneath the bridge, or goes at the river goes underneath the bridge. You have to cross the railway at that point. And they have put a traffic light system, which is what they're putting on, red and green, £450,000 to put that in.
No.
They've put one as well. There's a footpath that runs along the back of the Salts, comes out on Military Road. They've put lights there as well.
Yeah, I think that's probably the one that yeah. Yes, so that's the cost of doing it. But they seemed quite good on what they were looking at. They're holding another meeting in June, so we'll advise. But so that was that one. Anything more you want to?
Just that the Ramblers see the solar farms as a real threat to footpaths, and they've made a specific role, which was going to be announced imminently, wasn't it? Of somebody that's going to take that role up and fight solar
Why do they see the solar farms as a threat?
because they're losing footpaths underneath solar panels.
And they're ugly.
Well, I'm just trying to. I can see if you build on top of a footpath.
I think the one at where was it? Something Valley. That's 900 acres. It's in Kent. So you can imagine the amount of footpath that would have been lost under that.
Well, I that's why I asked, because to me, if you've got footpaths, planning authorities, I'm surprised, allow building on top of it.
One thing I don't know is if you ever decide not to have solar farms.
Solar arrays, they call them now.
Solar arrays. Are they easy to remove, and can farmland be restituted?
I don't know.
I know that.
I mean, is it once a solar farm's there, is it non-agricultural forever?
Well, originally, when the first one went on Romney Marsh, they had sheep grazing
Yes.
underneath
Yeah.
them.
Yeah.
So,
But that's not crops, is it?
no.
But it's agricultural.
It is agricultural. Yes, why not? I mean, yes. I mean, that's a step forward, certainly. And I just wondered if it could, ever become heathland again or anything.
Potential, is it? No, so that's basically that one.
Okay, thank you.
The Assertion 10 Made Simple seminar, which I attended, which was organised by NALC on the things that, as we get through. But it was organised by them, but run by the Breakthrough organisation you often see on CALC training emails. Basically, we need a decent IT policy, and each councillor needs to have a council email address, which you all know and you all have, but obviously
Working at it, yeah.
get it done, because it's a case of keeping, it's all data based, and the information that you hold can get out if it's not within its own, if it's a personal one.
It's not a personal one, it is, but I just find it difficult coping with multiple email addresses.
One of the
I won't be able to, what will happen is I will have multiple ones, and I won't be able to get into any of them.
One of the reasons for it is that protocol is that you don't use your .gov for personal emails. Remember how much Hillary Clinton got into trouble?
Occasionally you make a mistake, but generally speaking, that's
Well,
the principle we all adopt, isn't it?
Well, that was sort of her defence.
Yeah.
But the point about it all is it's about keeping it clean. So the data can be monitored, because in the world of he said, she said, who said what, if you've got your gov address and it's purely used for PC business and what have you, you're putting in place the boundaries. Whereas at the moment,
if we were the Office for Budget Responsibility, we could understand the risk.
I think we are, aren't we? In a small way.
But they clearly got it very wrong.
There you go.
We're Wittersham PCC, and I don't see the risk is going to be too great. But there it
It's
is.
Gmail, you see, it's your Gmail one that you're using, which doesn't belong to, anyone can get.
Well, I can say that I will not be able to keep them segregated, partly because I don't simply work in the office for 8 hours and then go home. I do it whenever. And partly because the Apple computers with several emails on there send things out almost at random. Usually the random is whichever one came in last, which I haven't necessarily even looked at.
Yeah.
So if that is going to be the rule, then I should have gone.
I shan't be able to. I mean, for instance, I quite often email it on about something on parish council, but I might equally email you about something like the church or something. And I mean, I'm not going to break off in the middle.
Being careful about where it goes to is easier, because I'm usually typing them in. I don't have standard addresses.
Yes.
But the one it goes from, unless I carefully check, and I often forget, I often remember, but often forget, that will be whichever one the computer is from. And if that is what they demand, then I'm sorry.
It's human frailty and it's not overcomable.
Yeah, it's just stupid. They don't have a thought for the fact of parish councillors. All they think about is them sitting on their backsides in their offices for 8 hours, being bored and coming up with something else that everyone else has to do. And incidentally, as Yvonne has already told me, all Stone councillors have simply refused and said, up yours.
Well, so I was going to say,
Well, hold on a minute. You declared that in public and it's now on record.
We have done.
Yeah.
so I think
But actually, if I was saying,
stuff it.
you didn't say that.
I didn't say,
Up yours. Well, there you go, you see. Well, look,
I just.
I can understand why it's been done. All right, it's a bit like, sorry officer, I didn't look at the speedometer on my car. I didn't realise. I mean, you know what? If the regulations change, you don't have to comply.
I think it will be when we come to do our AGAR at the end of the year, that assertion, we can say no. Have you complied with it? No. But you have to say why.
Well,
which will bring to notice.
The reason I would say that is because, I mean, I don't think I'm particularly efficient. I know I'm not very efficient anyway, but it would just make me hopelessly inefficient. I don't want that.
You're already filling it in with all the other things you do, Alan, and it is an unnecessary.
It's just an unnecessary burden, and I don't want it.
I'm not disagreeing with what Paul says. Matter of principle, it's a good idea. It certainly applies to all the people who are more important in various ways. But for the average parish councillor fitting it in, then frankly it's difficult.
If they send me a full-time secretary who can do it all for me, that's fine. Then fine.
They don't even want to send you a separate computer.
I haven't got.
You should have that's what.
Don't worry, the launch codes are not going to be shared with you.
I think the real downside is disincentive for people, another disincentive for people to join the parish council.
Exactly.
Well, with respect, if you took this issue through generations several below us, they'd look at us thinking, what, you can't set up an email address?
Well, and actually now you would just set up that one. So,
I mean,
I agree.
I'm not special. I've got
us.
6 because I've got the charity ones, I've got the parish council, I've got my personal one, I've got 2 business ones, what have you. And occasionally I've sent it from the wrong one by mistake, but it's once in a blue moon.
They should learn by observation. I mean, this
Who
is
are
the problem.
they?
Well, whoever's
Who are they?
The school governors have already got this problem.
Have they?
I mean, they're such complicated emails. I mean, nobody can ever remember their email address because it's about 2.5 pages long. and I mean, it's just hopeless. I mean, I've dabbled in school governorship, but I mean, the email burden was just overwhelming.
Well, anyway,
It is what it is.
some will, some won't, but we'll have our explanation ready.
As John Harvey-Jones used to say, the old chairman of ICI, he used to say, often better means worse.
Well, fine. fine.
That was a really good series, wasn't it? Back in the 80s, I think it was. 45 years ago he was there.
Indeed.
I met him several times actually, we did a lot of work with him.
It's
Fine.
sorry.
The one thing that we need to be aware of though is, don't forget we have a responsibility on risk and risk register. And there will be, not me, but there will be people who argue that if you don't have secure, watertight communications in the parish council, that is an area of risk.
That's what came up with it.
Exactly.
Risk of what?
The risk of emails being hacked. I mean, I don't know. Who's got an AOL address? I wouldn't have one if you paid me £1,000.
Anybody? You can hack those easily.
Easily, yeah.
No.
Gmail is probably one of the ones because of the resources behind it.
Mm.
But a whole raft of other email addresses. That's the fact when things come in, it's unlikely that the security around .gov addresses is probably the tightest you can get. Okay, I don't know if anyone here has been spammed at all. Has succumbed to spam? Because don't forget, spam never happens to you. It's somebody else.
See that I get spammed
But have you succumbed to one?
I've made close shave.
Yeah, I know. So I'm just, anyhow, you decide. I mean, it's but I think that what you're doing is absolutely right. Setting up the processes and the structure for us to comply. If parish councillors choose not to do that, that's...
We should also allow, given everything you've said, Paul, we should also allow that for the most part, and we are going to have a little secret squirrel after this, but for the most part, our information is public.
Yeah.
We put it on the tape. We are FOI-able. The only thing that people make a fuss about, and I think it's usually a confected fuss, is other people's names and addresses and emails.
That's the thing, we shouldn't have
And we shouldn't do a lot of
anything
things,
that
but most of them are in the village. We know who they are, they know who we are, they have their emails scattered around for other reasons. I know that people will sometimes fuss over, but most of what goes on with us is actually public.
Yeah, I suppose if people are going to put their romantic lives on a parish council email, then that could be overexciting for the general population. But I'm looking around the table and
You're not doing your cause of links and churchyards a lot of good at the moment. Anyhow, thank you for persevering, Yvonne.
We've come to the official end.
Yeah.
Of,
hang on, sorry.
I'm
Sorry,
not closing it yet. No,
Yeah.
no. I've got
Did you
taken
ask me
it.
as well with that information? Because I've got another one.
Any other business?
Yes, I've got something else.
Yeah, well, I've got one. Anybody else got anything?
I've got one thing.
There we go.
You go first, Yvonne.
But just to say that from the coffee shop, over the last year, we were able to donate £102.51 to the Jeremiah Greenwood Charity.
well done. Do you want to record it? It's much appreciated.
Well, I did have a letter.
We have distributed it appropriately, I think.
But yes, that was mine.
So I was simply going to congratulate all those involved in the Christmas tree event from Alan with soliciting funds magnificently, but particularly obviously to Yvonne and to Alf for putting up the tree that really did us.
It's Roger Kimber who did a lot of the
Yeah, Roger was fantastic.
I have, because I had a letter back and I did thank Roger and his team. Well, I think I said Alan and Roger and the team. But
well, I just feel as a parish council we should record
Yeah.
a good event.
Yes.
Best event.
First class it was. One thing we've discovered is that Roger and I actually approach life from totally different angles, complete opposites. But we should have been in business together because we worked rather well together on this.
No,
Well, we clicked.
that was good. And Sally.
In May, I attended a CALC workshop on dementia, which I found very inspiring. And I would like to put on a dementia talk within the village. I've got the WI to agree to host it, but I'd like the parish council in principle to agree to pay for the speaker if I need to pay for that.
You get it,
Yes, and to pay for people to attend because if you go to the WI you have to pay £2 for attend, and I don't want anyone to have to pay to come. So I feel it's quite important.
So we could sponsor it and there'd be no entry fee.
Well, no, because I'm going to do it under the umbrella of the WI, so we have to play by their rules.
And then
So we could make a
how would you
donation.
get £2 to everybody, do you see what I mean?
The parish council would pay that contribution.
Yeah, so then we pay them the WI and therefore everybody could just walk in.
Yeah.
Right, so can I suggest then that we, or you put it, because this will need to go on as an agenda item.
Right.
So that as a request, once you've worked out what you exactly want.
Okay. I'm not going to do it until next year in the lighter evenings. I feel I've got more chance of people attending there.
Yes, yeah, that'd be.
I mean, there's a lot of it about, isn't there?
Yes, there is, particularly in the village.
Yes.
Yeah, no, it's a very good cause indeed.
There's a lot of it about.
Okay, let's see.
Sorry, can I add something about that, if I may? I just suddenly remembered. For various reasons, there were people that are aware of, one or two people had to use defibrillators, not the one outside the village hall. And so several people have mentioned whether or not the defibrillator training could be run again sometime next year.
Yeah, that's.
I myself couldn't attend it last time because I wasn't here for a personal reason. But a number of people said it'd be really good. What do we do? You know,
I'll just tell me and I'll ask those responsible.
Yeah, would that be
Yeah.
fantastic? Thank you.
And the other thing we were going to do is put up a notice near the defibrillator of the address of the village hall and the what 3 words. Because if you're not a local person and you're phoning for emergency services,
Right, okay.
We need that information.
Because it's on their list, the ambulance service is registered with them.
yes, but it's just if someone's using the hall and then they have to phone for emergency services.
They say it's a Wittersham Village Hall, then they will know where it is.
Right, okay.
But I can, yes, I can do that. I've got to do what 3 words tomorrow for the roadside. But yes, it is registered because I have to do it. I have to check it and I have to, go out and make sure it works on a regular basis. And I then have to complete the online thing to say that I checked it. And that's why, if you remember, we had to replace the pads and battery every 2 years, although it hadn't been used. I still had to do that.
Okay, that concludes the formal meeting.
Now the other things you've got to do, resolve, I need
To resolve,
yes.
Mary,
And
we have to resolve.
Yes, and I need a proposal and seconder.
I'll propose it.
Okay. Paul proposes that because of the sensitivity of the next item, we ask the public to leave.
He must have read it in advance. Right, okay. So Paul
Okay,
and
Paul.
Thomas.
Who will second?
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 Yeah.
Colin second. Okay, all in favour?